If Bitcoin does not get back over $60,000 soon, the crypto bros and girls out there are potentially in trouble because we could be going much lower down to 52, potentially even down to the 40,000. So I'll explain exactly why that is a possibility in this video. But right now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Fous. I've been trading for 20 years, and on this channel, I will tell you exactly what I think the highest probability scenarios are for the upcoming week so you can take action and be prepared for any of those scenarios. For every trade, either A or B happens. You have to be able to react to either of those scenarios happening and be prepared for both the worst and the best case scenarios. So if that's interesting to you, hit like, definitely subscribe, and let's get into the charts. All right, guys, let's get right into Bitcoin as of right now. It is potentially re-attempting to take back 60K, which would then turn this into a bear trap, which would be technically a bullish signal for the bulls. A lot of times when we do see these traps or breakdowns below a support area and then price rise back above that actual breakdown zone, all that is a bunch of stops that get taken out, and then price can definitely slingshot back to the upside. We saw an example of this previously when this is a similar looking chart back here on Bitcoin when it broke down below 40K, looking like, okay, support's gone, we're in trouble. No, reclaimed that level and broke through that resistance, and that is what we call a bear trap, and then things were just off to the races from there, and the bull run continued. This is a similar chart setup that's happening right now, but it has to actually close above that level and then reclaim that. The secondary breakout point would be if this descending trend line breaks to the upside, and that would be a very bullish signal for Bitcoin and a potential continuation of this current trend that's happening right now. Now, what we do have to factor in here, guys, is if we look at the previous cycles on Bitcoin, again, we just recently made money on a nice little short. You can see my entry was here about 64,000. I just locked in the last of my gains as we spiked below this level, almost hit the TP3, but I locked in gains pretty much all the way from 25% down to about 60% through the profit target zone. And then I set my stop down below if we start pushing back up, of which just triggered. Now, that was a nice trade. You'd actually see the analysis of that is fully in my Discord group. If you want access to that and get alerted and updated in real time when I'm actually making my entries, you can check that out later. Brief interruption here, guys. Did you know that 75% of traders have accounts under $25,000? This creates a huge problem because even if you double that account in a year, which is almost impossible, you're still only making $25,000. Introducing Hydra Funding, where you can potentially get access up to $500,000 in capital. All you have to do, guys, is sign up for a challenge account, which is going to give you potentially access up to $500,000. And if you earn a 10% profit in this demo account without going into a 5% loss overall or a 4% loss in a day, you will then pass their evaluation phase and, yes, get access to an account with the selected size account. And now, instead of trying to double a $10,000 account, you could potentially earn only 10% on a $100,000 account to earn the same level of profits. And the benefits of this are huge. Rather than risking your entire $10,000 on one account, you can use just $1,000 to potentially get access to $100,000 in capital. You can trade crypto, Forex, stocks, CFTs, gold, oil, everything under the sun, all on MT4 and MT5. If you're interested, if you have an account under $25,000, like 75% of traders out there, you're not going to make any money with that account because it's too small. Get access to pro level funding and pro level capital with Hydra Funding. Link's going to be below. But as of right now, I did tweet on April 13th saying, as of this moment, guys, Bitcoin is forming a weekly bull trap, which is also the trap on the opposite side of what I just mentioned, which is a very bearish signal and something to definitely be concerned about. And if we look at the chart on the daily chart, let's actually add a 50-day moving average to the chart here. Simple moving average, which is a very, very simple indicator, but very powerful when you just use it on Bitcoin. It has had significance for the most part throughout the entirety of Bitcoin. We broke down the 50-day moving average right here at about April 13th. Why is that significant? Well, if we look back at what happened previously on the last cycle, you can see we retested below it here and then broke back above. But the last time we broke the 50-day moving average on Bitcoin, that was the beginning of a huge 55% drawdown and pullback on Bitcoin before finally basing out and then seeing a secondary leg to the upside. Now, is that going to happen again? Who knows, right? But history never repeats itself, but it often rhymes. And we're in a similar situation right now. If we look, we can see Bitcoin went on. Another significant thing is Bitcoin went on a 7-month run and then broke the 50-day moving average. What happened here? A 7-month run followed by the 50-day moving average break and then a huge downside slide, okay, which was 55%. So that could definitely be something that's going on right now. And you can't deny the fact that right now prices have flipped to bearish momentum for Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that we can't recover. Anything can change, news can change, momentum can change in the blink of an eye. But as of this moment, we had the weekly bull trap on Bitcoin, as well as the 50-day moving average breakdown, which are both bearish signals, which then led me to believe that, okay, short term, we could be seeing a big pullback before there was a potential rerun for the bulls as of this moment. So right now, Bitcoin broke down below the 60K level at about 59.7, which were the previous lows, came all the way down to about 56,631, and now we're retesting this very pivotal moment at about 60,000. It's anybody's guess what's going to happen right here, but a hold back above 60K and breaking out above this descending trend line, that will be, for me, a bullish signal that we could potentially be retesting the ATH all-time highs on Bitcoin in the low 70,000s. But if we don't break above this trend line, I think there's definitely the possibility that we go even lower here. First level of support is about 52K. Then the next levels of support are around 42 to, or more so about 40,000 up to about 47 to 48K on Bitcoin. So that is a thing that you have to consider, that those are possible scenarios that could play out. And what happens if that does happen? Are you going to be completely screwed, or is it something that you could take advantage of? I always try to focus on, okay, what is the worst case scenario here? And am I going to survive if that happens? The reason why most people fail in trading and investing is they don't want to think about the worst case scenario. They only want to think about the best case scenario and how much money they're going to make and how big of a life-changing moment that will be if the best case scenario works out. Unfortunately, a lot of times, worst case scenario plays out, or they mistime things and went too big too early, get stopped out, get liquidated, and aren't able to recover from what just happened. So for me, I don't have any open positions right now. We got short here. I locked in my gains on Bitcoin as well as Ethereum on the short side. And now I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens in this pivotal moment at about 60K, whether I need to get repositioned long here for a potential breakout of this level, or if I'm gonna re-short for the next leg down to at least about 52K, which is the next major support level. If we look at Ethereum, similar situation here, guys. We had flipped the 50-day moving average. We're now in this descending wedge pattern, which could potentially be bullish if we break out above this level here, which we call this a breakout trigger on Ethereum. But as of right now, it's hard to say what's going to happen. Obviously, Bitcoin has been a little bit weaker. Altcoins have been holding up a little bit more in this past week through the actual sell-off. We actually did see some, 10 to 30% bounces on some of the altcoins across the board. So altcoins are finding themselves a little bit more momentous as of right now. But you can't deny the fact that we are now in a new near-term bearish trend on Ethereum. If we put the anchored VWAP up here, we're below that. We're below the 50-day moving average. We're below my custom degenerate trend as well. So everything is pointing bearish as of right now, near term and long term for Ethereum, until it potentially flips. But the near term trend as of right now on Ethereum is actually bearish. But you can also see that there is a longer term trend that's actually still bullish as of right here, which basically price bounced right off of. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what happens as of right now. For me, right now, I just got short on Ethereum up here on this actual flag, or actually trap that happened right there. We locked in gains on the way down. It just hit my stop for the last position here. So right now I'm free and clear, locked in the gain on the short, and as of right now, don't have any longs. For me to be really convicted to be long Ethereum, it would have to be a breakout above this descending trend line, which would then be flipping bullish for me on Ethereum. We also have to factor in here, guys, that NASDAQ is also flipped bearish as well. It broke down below the 50-day moving average. We saw a big sell-off here into a support zone of which we actually longed. We actually got long NASDAQ 100 right around this level, and I locked in profits all the way up here. I was looking to short if we spiked above into this level. So I missed a shorting opportunity just barely on NASDAQ, but now it's just been crazy price action. We saw a huge sell-off, then a huge spike to the upside, and then sell-off, and then a huge spike to the upside again. So the intraday action here on NASDAQ has been just crazy if we look at what's going on for the last week. So it's kind of been untradeable. And if you're going to be swing trading through this kind of chaos, it's also very, very stressful. If we look at what's going on tomorrow, guys, we have big news coming out. We have the non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, PMI, and also yesterday was the federal funds rate, of which they kept unchanged, which is also leading to a lot of the volatility that's happening. But as of right now, NASDAQ has also flipped bearish after just a monumental run to the upside. You can also look at the actual stocks. And if we look at like Nvidia and SMCI, which were kind of some of the market leaders as far as the AI narrative, we can see that they're starting to pull back slightly off these levels, right? This is now flipping bearish as well on SMCI. Huge sell-off after earnings. If we look at NVDA, it is now coming back into a negative territory, breaking down below the 50-day moving average. It broke it. Now it's retesting that level, potentially rolling over for a secondary drop on Nvidia, of which that's kind of the similar situation that we're looking at on NASDAQ as well. I do think stocks are due for a big pullback. I mean, if you look at the monthly chart on fucking Nvidia, like this is bonkers, guys. Like, what is this? Okay. And there still hasn't really been a pullback yet on Nvidia. And every bubble pops, 50 to 80%. And it's going to happen again on Nvidia. If you don't think that's a possibility, just look at the last big run that Nvidia had. It came down again massively on Nvidia. How many percent pullback was this on the last big run for Nvidia? 70%. A lot of people think, oh, that can't happen. 70%, that's just out of the fucking question. It literally just did it. Okay, so now it's gone on another monumental run. The possibility for another 70% pullback is definitely something that can happen, and something that can and will happen, and happens over the course of history indefinitely. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to think about a 70% pullback. Obviously, it ripped to the upside, but a lot of people don't buy this dip down here. People buy when it's up here and it's in the news. So you have to be very careful about your positioning in any sort of market that you're in. We also look at Robert Kiyosaki says, bad news, the crash has begun, and it's going to be a bad news. The good news is that crashes are the best time to get rich. Bargains will float to the surface. So he's basically saying, don't position yourself where if a crash does happen, you're going to get wiped out. Position yourself in this situation where if the crash does happen, you're going to survive. You're going to have capital to buy things on the dip, which most people don't do. Most people are going to be fully loaded up on Nvidia at fucking all-time highs up here. And if it does crash down, they're not going to be able to buy the dip because they lost everything on the way down. So it's important to be looking at all these situations and always have cash on the side to be prepared for worst case scenario. And also, if you're exposed, if worst case scenario happens, how bad are you going to be damaged in that so that you can potentially not live to fight another day? That's all you're trying to do in trading, investing, is survive and grow your capital, not put yourself in a position where if this doesn't work out the way you want it to, you're out of the game until you save up money again. And whatever you saved up, maybe the last 10 years of savings you saved up and you put it in Nvidia because you think it's going to be life-changing, or you're on leverage, what if it drops 70%? Are you going to survive that? For most people, probably not. So I don't like to fantasize about how much money I will ever make. That's never led to anything good in my career over the last 20 years. It's always, I should have prepared for the worst case scenario in every situation possible. So anyways, guys, that's the kind of situation today. Right now, Bitcoin, again, let's take a look at what's going on here as we close out this video. Bitcoin is retesting that 60K integral level, okay? Is this gonna be the moment that we bounce off 60K and then see a second leg down, or is it gonna close above 60K and then break above this breakout trigger and then push to the upside, reaching all-time highs again, potentially even beyond up to 100K. So let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen here. Do you think 60K is now going to be resistance and we see the secondary leg down to 52K? Or do you think 60K is going to be reclaimed and we break out above this breakout trigger descending trend line and are retesting all-time highs? Let me know in the comments what you think. Right now, I just took advantage of this short opportunity for me. I'm not doing shit. NFP is tomorrow, which is typically an extremely volatile no trade day for me. I'll wait to see what happens on NFP and then reevaluate the situation from there. Anyways, guys, that's a wrap for today. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.